because I did promise. Before I do that, I got a quick personal question. If someone hosted Dragon's Den Waterloo, would you be open to be a dragon?
I've been asked that before. Not Dragons in Waterloo. Yeah, I'm probably the... Well, it's funny. I don't know if anybody's ever met a venture capitalist, but they're the nicest, most skeptical people ever. They're the best people to tell you your idea is full of shit, because you'll feel great about it afterwards. So yeah, I'll just be like I'll be a really tough, nice guy.
Nice. Okay. So let's see. We've got. I think we've got time for about 3 or 4 questions.
Can I actually?
Another question? Okay. Sorry, I think we have an announcement.
Yeah. So really excitedly, Dragon's Den will be here on March 16th in Waterloo, and they're taking pitches from 11:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. in CBIT, which is North Campus, past the CIF ice field. So if you're interested in being the next Jonathan Fishbein,
Remember, I wasn't even on the show.
Little more. Definitely check it out. So, question.
Lovely. So who wants to go first? You?
Yeah, I was wondering about your equity division when you moved from being a hobbyist to a full-time company, and how you've done your sort of equity split when you had 7 people working on it as a hobby versus, and then like, how did that change? And then when you got your first round of investment, did the equity division change again?
Yeah, good question. So,
I was going to ask you about vested equity, but
yeah, well, we didn't do that, which we should have. How did our equity change in moving to the company? So, to be honest, it's like once you give out equity, you can't take it back. That's a big problem with equity. People own it, and sometimes they have bought it. So you can't just take it from them. That's illegal. That's stealing. So that's why you got to be careful about how you divide your equity in the first place. What we did, there's 2 things that we put in place afterwards. The first is sales. People sold their equity. So one of our full-time people didn't own a lot of the company. She thought that she needed some skin in the game to be able to work effectively. And one of our hobbyists who had eventually kind of moved on to other things needed some cash. He was having a baby, he needed some money. So they did a equity deal between themselves. And it had to be formal, like we had to come up with a stock purchase agreement, and it had to be vetted by the shareholders. But it's a complicated way, but that's one way you can correct it. And therefore people feel like they're getting a fair deal, because that's what needs to happen when equity changes hands. Everybody needs a fair deal. The second thing that we did is a stock option plan based on dilution from all equity holders. And that basically allows for the full-time employees to kind of be locked into stock options. And if they're locked into receiving more of the company, then they're more likely to stay. They can't quit. They're incentivized not to quit, because then they won't get their stock. So that's a way that you can, and over time, will slowly correct to reward full-time contribution that is current based on the previous contribution when the company was in the older form. But it's like, it was a problem that we made for ourselves that we have to now go about, I mean, I would say fix, because I'm still involved in the company, and, but some people who are not involved in the company, it's not in their interest to fix it. They're owning a large share, and if we fix it, they'll own less of a share. So it becomes one of those messes that you just kind of have to clean up as an entrepreneur, which there are many, and this for us, it's just one of them. The second thing was around the deal. So the hot thing right now to do with deals is what's called a convertible debenture, which is you do not sell the company at its current value. You sell the company at a future value, and everything you take in there is a loan, and the loan converts at a particular date or a particular trigger. So what we did is all that $500,000 that we raised was raised on a convertible note. So it was a loan that we took from our investors that accumulates interest over an annual interest. So they actually, their loan increases in value. At which point, I think it was like at a certain time period, or whether the company closes a qualified round of a certain amount of money, all of that stock contributes to, or all that those debentures convert to stock at whatever value the company is when the qualified round closed. So it's in the best interest of the company, because you don't value the company very early when it's low value. You value it later, and it's in the best interest of the investor, because they get to accumulate interest on their principal which means that they're kind of guaranteed a minimum return. So it works out quite well as a funding mechanism. Not every investor likes it though.
I was just going to ask, what was the cap on converting the company value cap?
The company value cap, I don't want to develop it. Good question though.
Lovely. We have time for, I think, one or two more questions if anyone's going. Do you have it? Do you want the mic? Do you want the mic?
At what point in the business, like you're a startup, would you say is it appropriate to actually start putting your own money? Like, because I know like everybody gets excited when they're starting a business and they say just put the money in first. So at what point, like I say, at what point of the game would you say is a good time to start actually putting money?
I don't know, I would kind of flip the question. To be, it's like, well, first of all, whose money, if you need money, whose money are you going to put in? It's got to be your own money. Because if you're willing to spend other people's money before your own, they're going to immediately identify that when they talk to you. And they're going to be like, what, you want to spend my money on stuff, but you don't want to spend it? Like, go get lost, you're not committed. So always put in your own money. Even if you don't have money, raise money from your friends and family, because that shows future investors that you're at least committed to putting your personal relationships on the line, because you think it's such a great idea and it's going to work. But then the other thing is like, put money in when you need money. Don't question whether you need money or not. If you need money, put the money in. If you question whether you need money and you're trying to keep costs low, you got to really understand like why. Are you trying to do it because you're not committed to taking the risk, or you're afraid you're going to lose the money? If you need the money, and if it's important for your business to be successful, put it in right away. So that's the thing, it's like, if you need money, spend it. I put a lot of this company on my credit card originally, and it wasn't like every entrepreneur says that, so like, don't think it was like tens and tens of thousands of dollars of debt that I put on my credit card, and I was paying payroll on my credit card. No, it was like domain names, hosting fees. I probably spent a year where I was putting my own money into the company just to keep it operational. But it was like, a couple $1,000s. But that's, if you need the money, like if you need a domain name, for us we needed a domain name, but we needed a web host. I can't get around that. And if I'm not willing to do it now, then I might as well just stop. Because if I'm questioning that early, it's just not going to be, the company's not going to be successful.
Great. Does anyone have any more questions? You can do one more question. We got a guy in the corner. Yes, can you yell? Do you want a mic?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Awesome. Just real quick one. After the Dragon's Den episode, your sales absolutely skyrocket after that, or how did that work for you?
After the Dragon's Den, well actually during the Dragon's Den, Dragon's Den is funny because it airs at the same time in every time zone. So what I mean by the same time is it airs at 8 o'clock in every time zone, which means that it rolls through the country. So you get like 4 hours of like constant traffic. So what happened immediately after our first airing? Well, the site crashed. That's what happened. And it's funny, we had a dry run where we didn't know this at the time, but one of our sellers appeared on Dragon's Den. And one of the advantages of what we do as a value add to our sellers is because we have so many products and because we have so many links, we are higher ranked on search engines than some of the sellers' own sites because we just have tons and tons of good content. So what happened was our seller went on Dragon's Den. Our listing of her product appeared before her own company, and the site went down then. And it's like, okay, well, good. We got it back up about, I think, when it started going in Alberta, which means we missed a lot of time zone. But it was a good dry run for us, because we're like, okay, well, what was the traffic that brought us down? What do we need? And I'm like, great, I'm gonna triple that when we air, because I just want to make like ton, engineering, margin of safety. Triple it. And then I'll buy whatever resources we need on a flexible server plan, and then, fine, we'll be 3 times what we saw before. Yeah, it still didn't work. It still went down. So that was the tough part. I mean, the funny, I was sitting in the back as we were airing. We had a party, but I was in the back with my, portable rocket stick internet watching the server load. And it's just like, 8 o'clock rolls around, and bam, you're looking at your top screen, and all of a sudden your web server is taking over every single resources that you have. You're probably borrowing resources from other machines. So it's crazy. It was insane just watching the amount of people that logged on. I think we had, in the first minute, 1,000 people try to go on our site at once. which is a lot if you know web traffic. It's like some sites don't even get 1,000 people a day. So that was interesting. But no, what would happen was the first thing that we saw, because people couldn't buy anything at the first day, and if they could get on the site, it was just horribly slow. The first thing we saw was sellers get in touch with us saying like, hey, just saw you on Dragon's Den. I got this great product. Can I sell it on your site? So that kind of doubled the catalog as a cool side benefit. And then what we saw was trickling sales over the course of a week because as people PVR and watch online, it kind of has a shelf life and then it airs again and later on in the week. And we saw some sales trickle in from that. But after 3 weeks, it kind of settled back. People sort of forgot about us. And we didn't really have a good retention marketing strategy at the time. So, yeah, kind of fizzled out. The funny part is we aired again, and we had a rerun that showed this weekend. And we have this new thing on the site. I want to mention this in case anybody goes to the site and gets really pissed off. One thing that we did is we tried to, in our current iteration of our marketing plan, try to figure out how we were going to bring in more, grow our mailing list quite substantially, because our mailing list is our best and cheapest marketing channel, and our other marketing channels are just way too expensive to try to attract further investment into the company. So we force everybody to sign up, and we actually force people to invite their friends over a particular walkout day. Some people love it, some people hate it. I hear from the people who hate it more than the people who love it. But the funny part is that we aired the second time in Dragon's Den with that new model. We signed up like 1,500 people. We got their email addresses. We didn't even get, maybe 200 the first time we aired. And now that's 1,500 people that we actually know we can market to very well. And we know we can find products that they like now that we know something about them. So it's, we didn't get sales this time, but we got what we were actually driving for as a company now as our primary goal, which is email addresses and information about customers, so we can effectively get you products that you're going to like.
Awesome. Do we want to do one more question? I'm sorry, I think just a quick one.
Yeah,
And please keep your responses brief as well.
What was
Thank you.
what was the conversion rate between the number of visitors and how many people you had sign up for mailings?
Don't actually want to tell you the real number, because that's...
Make one up.
Yeah. Percentage-wise, well, I want to find a way to answer the question without divulging, kind of where we're currently at. That's the thing with startups is that, have you ever noticed when you sign up for an account on a new startup that they'll assign you you'll look in your URL bar and it'll be your user identifier, but it'll be like UXGYZ14. It's because they don't want people going and figuring out what their growth rate of members is. It's like certain information wants to be controlled by the company just because it can go out, get out to investors, you can be benchmarked, your competitors can find it out. So information is actually the kind of key thing that you want to keep kind of within your team. I'll do it in relative. What was our conversion rate? Well, let me just say it was probably about 8 times higher than before the change that we made. So, relative to our old strategy, much, much better.
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Jonathan Fishbein. Fishbein, my apologies. And on behalf of Ideas to Entrepreneurship, we'd like to thank you and give you a token of our appreciation.
Thank you very much.
On a Friday night to share your stories.
That's right.
Thank you.
I was surprised there was no beer.
So, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, yep, I was told to keep both genders in mind. Thank you. Jonathan will be around for a little while longer afterwards just to answer any questions you might have, so feel free to come up and do your one-on-ones. But at this point, I also want to take a moment to talk about what you're going to be doing next for the next couple of hours. I advise you to stay. We're going to reform into your groups as you did before we broke up for dinner. And over the next 2 hours, we would like you to start working on those ideas that were pitched earlier and help them develop into something a bit more. So again, try to see if you can build a business model out of it, try to see if it's feasible, but start building something concrete. Because if you can build something concrete, your idea is going to be a hell of a lot more stronger. And at the end, if you're open to pitching, that's your chance to win some money. So that's the challenge to you. It's up to you to take it. We put the offer on the table, and we'd love for you to stay and take it. So thank you. and we'll see you in a bit.